Betty asked me to speak about a Christmas childhood memory at a holiday service she was organizing. It was like asking me to skydive head first into two of my greatest fears: one, public speaking, and two, my childhood. The latter being very complicated and not exactly festive. Dysfunctional seems to be the current word, although I'm discovering that the functioning of most everyone's childhood has its share of disorder. Still frozen by the shock, my ears barely picked up Betty adding casually over her shoulder, 3 minutes would be great. From a window, I could see a snowless December morning, pining for its blanket of white, as I followed the fellowship out of the service area into the room where we gather and pay homage to the traditional Unitarian icon, the coffee urn. I took 2 cups of coffee before the blood returned to my whitened lips. As my heart resumed its normal pace, I spotted my then husband across the room and strategically cornered him between conversations and the wall. "Neil, I don't have a normal Christmas story to tell." "Just tell a true story," he said. "You have lots of those." Sudden clarity. His response was delivered with such ease I didn't wonder whether or not he was completely out of his mind. Later that day, I began. I made the immediate decision not to pull all the skeletons out of my well-stocked closet. That tale would take well over the time limit. So I put on my coat and hat and I headed out for a long walk along the river. I let myself think about the Unitarian covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Although I'm not a member, I am a friend, and this credo brings me back. I journeyed back through the terrible parts of my childhood to find a gem. There is always a gem, no matter how dark the past. You just have to surrender to it. I lived with my father from the time I was 10. We were a couple of bachelors, the laundromat once a month on Saturdays, takeout on Sundays, 70s television, and the same socks for the rest of the time. Sometimes it was sheer bliss. Sometimes it was really lonely, and once in a while full of resentment and grief, but often filled with laughter. We were the oddest of couples, a forced alliance slung together by common and different tragedies. A love bonded not by sentiment, but by forgiveness, and we both held on tight. At Christmas time, nothing would be decorated unless I did it, so I did. I would rake through the basement looking for that artificial tree that was missing 4 vital branches, and a box of ornaments meager by any holiday flyer standard. I would drag it all upstairs, throw on a Christmas record, and put up that tree. My dad contributed a can of artificial snow, and we plastered our windows with every single possible holiday icon. By the way, our house was the one that left the snow on the windows until mid-April. As with most bachelors, our priorities lay elsewhere. My father was a chef, and since he had to work on Christmas Day, our coming together was on Christmas Eve. Music being the essential ingredient, we would play through the stack of Christmas records to Johnny Mathis, Bing Crosby, and Mahalia Jackson. My dad would open his gift, his annual installment of English leather Soap on a Rope, and I would open my gift, the latest Bay City Rollers album. We would enjoy our Christmas dinner at Hoo Hoo's, the local Chinese-Canadian diner, and argue about politics. Through the years, This developed my tenacity, and it was fun. We almost never agreed, and when we came close, one of us would either jump left or right so that the argument could continue with the same amount of vigor. After we filled ourselves with noodles and bok choy and the satisfaction that I won the argument, we traveled home. On our way, we stopped at Victoria Park, bursting with candy-colored lights shimmering against the frosted night. This annual glow wrapped us and comforted two volatile spirits. My dad would take my mittened hand and stuff it into his coat pocket. His grip held us both up. Arriving home, we settled in. I sat on the floor, and my dad sat in his white vinyl recliner, which was held together by silver electrical tape. We turned on the television and enjoyed eggnog out of the carton. At midnight, I would squat in front of the TV, turning through our 5 channels until I found Alistair Sim's A Christmas Carol. As the movie's last chorus sounded, so did my father's snores. Why were these Christmases so special? I don't really know, except that there was no chaos. Just simple tranquility under a roof on a quiet street. I haven't found the words to capture the true spirit, but peace on earth comes pretty close. And I did tell my story the very next Sunday, and I remember returning to my seat while holding and folding the paper that held these words. And something, just something, glowed brightly inside me.